Hello, Internet, and welcome to episode 116 of Verbal Graffiti with your host, Brian Glass, aka the B-Man, the People's Degenerate. Peer pressure is a bitch, ain't it not? It's a little child, a little 4-year-old pulling at your pajama shirt. Come on, give me some money, the B-Man, my bank account has been drained this past week. Let me explain. I have a lot of nieces and nephews, no children of my own because well, that's another topic for another episode. But this topic is about charity and artwork. But we will get to the artwork later on when we get to those Reddit posts. But charities, I've taken umbrage with them. We have a acrimonious relationship, me and these charities that are trying to extract money, my hard-earned money that is in my bank account because I am a cheap fuck, the B-Man is. I don't spend much of my money. I put it all in the bank account and I give it to all my nieces and nephews who ask me for money for whatever charity event they're working with. Let me explain a specific example. This last weekend, my niece, I won't say her name, this is the third year in a row. She's in college, a senior. Congratulations on graduating very soon. We are all proud of you. Even though I am a bit irritated, not so much with you, my niece, but with the entire process that is, hey, can I have $25 for this charity that I'm working with? If there was some charity that my niece is working with, it was a type of event. I don't know if it was a walk-a-thon or a dance-a-thon. It was 12 hours all night. We're raising money for the Children's Hospital in whatever state she's in. I'm not sure if it's the Connecticut Children's Hospital or just children's hospitals all around the world, or at least the U.S. Anyway. So she sent me a text saying, hey, I'm trying to raise $500. Obviously, the B-Man, I ain't giving her $500. I won't even give a high-end escort $500, but hey, you want $25. So everyone else in my family gave her $25 to reach her $500 goal. And then the day before the dance-a-thon, my mom and my sister came to me and go, hey, did you give your niece money for the charity? And I said no, with a very stern no. I'm not giving my niece money. And they said, why not? Why aren't you? This is for a good cause. This is a niece. This is family. You gotta give her money. You gotta give her $25. And my response, which I'll give you now, is, well, I gave her money the previous 2 years to this children's hospital to find a cure for cancer and illnesses that are affecting our youth here in America, specifically Connecticut. 2 years in a row, I've given $25. And today, as you listen or watch this episode, there are more children in the United States with cancer and all these fatal these illnesses that can kill you than there have been in the 2 previous years, which tells me the money that I've given to my niece for this charity has done nothing to help the kids that are in the children's hospital. So if I'm 0 for 2, what if I pay her again? That makes me a fool. That makes me, the B-Man, a sucker. And I don't like being a sucker. It's not about being cheap. It's about not wanting to be a sucker. And no, it's one thing to be a sucker, but when you've thought it out and you know that you're a sucker, that's what irritates me. And so, but again, they're like, you gotta give. I'm like, no. I've given $50 to cure children's cancer, and the cancer groups have done nothing. No cure, no medicine, no pain relief medication, nothing. I give them my money, and more kids than ever have cancer. So why would I ever give one of these charity groups money again that claim that they're going to find a cure for whatever? In this specific example, it's a children's hospital, but it's, you go on all those those 5K, those marathons, those races where you raise money for a breast cancer awareness or health or heart disease or diabetes. Well, guess what? There are a bunch of people with diabetes who don't have a foot because when you gave money for that walkathon, it didn't find a cure. They just took your money, gave it to, I don't know where the money goes, but it doesn't go to finding a cure because every fall, there's all these races. All those white people. We do these 5Ks, these 10Ks, these half marathons, these full marathons, these ultra marathons to raise money and awareness for whatever fucking cause it's for, and nothing gets done. Nothing gets cured. And I took a stand. Last week, I took a stand. I said, fuck my niece. I said, fuck children in the hospital. I'm not giving you $25. But again, that's that peer pressure. They guilted me. Not so much my niece, but my mother and my sister. They guilted me into giving my niece $25 for her dance-a-thon thing for whatever cause, children's, to cure all the kids. And I gave in. Because I'm a pussy. You know, I want to be liked. I'm a comedian. We want to be liked by everybody. We appease people. I don't know how to set frame. If you know anything about Red Pill, you know what that is. But I gave in. I Venmo'd my niece $25. But I texted her right after that, and I said, she thanked me, and I said, you're welcome. But then I hit her with I expect a cure by Easter. I want no kids in the hospitals in Connecticut by Easter because my $25, I'm expecting a cure for brain cancer. And I don't think that's too much to ask. I have this theory, and it goes all the way back to when I first started doing stand-up. Sometimes you give money or you donate time, and you don't really evaluate what it is you're giving your time or your money to. And it kind of occurred to me. This was specifically at the time, this was over a decade ago, I was thinking about the American Heart Association. I think I did an event with them, similar to a dance-a-thon, but it was to raise money and awareness. And it kind of, I did some I was thinking in my head, I was like, well, if I give money to the American Heart Association and they find a cure for heart disease or heart cancer, whatever is wrong with people's hearts, then everybody who works at the American Heart Association is going to be out of a job. So it seems to me, in a way, I think, well, then the people who work at the American Heart Association do not want to find a cure for heart disease. Because if there is a cure found, all the people at the American Heart Association are out of a job. So their incentives are, yes, give us your money. We'll say we're finding a cure. We'll give a little bit to some scientists, I don't know, in the Silicon Valley, but we know that's not actually going to work. And then the ruse that goes on year after year, decade after decade. And that's why I've always looked at all these charities that are claiming to find these cures for whatever disease or cancer or tumors. I look at them critically because I know how the human mind, but the human, just the way we're selfish. We're selfish. So we care more about our paycheck than we do the cure or whatever disease. So I was just angry because I gave $25, and I know this time next year there are still going to be sick children in Connecticut, which is a shame, which is terrible. But why do they need my money? Right? Like if I know of somebody personally in a hospital that has a 4-year-old with leukemia. We had a kid on our street. I donated some money to him, but I knew it was going to him, and it went to go make a a swing set in his backyard. And I've been very happy that I gave some money for a cause where I can see what was done with that money. But I keep giving money to these state and national organizations, and nothing gets accomplished other than my bank account goes down a little bit more. Am I alone? Does this make sense? Or am I just a Scrooge McDuck? You can say what you want about Scrooge McDuck, but Scrooge McDuck was right most of the time with all of his thoughts. Doesn't mean he was a pleasant fellow to work for or to be a friend with or to be a family member of, but Scrooge McDuck knew business. He knew how to take money and use it to make stuff happen. And giving money to charity, nothing seems to happen. So call me Scrooge McDuck. All right, let's go move on with Verbal Graffiti, episode 116. Let's find a topic a little bit more lighthearted than children with cancer. And to all the children with cancer, even though I get angry for having to give money for your cancer, we hope you find a cure and live a long, memorable life filled with viewing Verbal Graffiti. All right. This comes from the subreddit Feminism. Okay. Opinions on a naked poster of Mona Lisa. Hi, everyone. Hello. In my shared house, someone recently put up a poster of the Mona Lisa, but she's been drawn topless with bare breasts and a hand pinching her nipple. Everyone in the house, including guests, seem to think it's super cool and edgy. I, however, find it problematic and objectifying for a few reasons. It feels like yet another example of how women are often depicted nude or turned into objects of visual consumption without consent. To me, it doesn't feel like hashtag liberating or hashtag free the nipple. It feels reductive and disrespectful. Am I overthinking this? ? Do you agree that it's inappropriate? Or do you have other thoughts about why it might not be okay? ? I'm considering bringing it up in a house meeting, but I know it'll likely label me the angry feminist, which I honestly don't care about. What frustrates me more is how people, even some of the women in the house, can't seem to understand why it's provocative in a bad way. Would love to hear your thoughts and advice. Well, you're welcome, because I am going to give you all my thoughts and all my advice. Now, I am very passionate. I'm very passionate about art, especially physical art, paintings, sculptures, things on the canvas that I can see with my eyes. Within the last 5 to 6 years, I've taken a love for art and certain artists that make that art that I love. This poster that's in your shared house, which I'm not going to speak ill of those living in a shared house, because I've done that for many, many a year. But this poster that's on the wall of a naked Mona Lisa. Next time we would like to see an actual photo of the Mona Lisa. I'm interested in knowing what Mona Lisa's tits look like. I for some reason, when I look at Mona Lisa, the painting that is, I suspect she has pencil eraser nipples. She's a very bland looking lady. So when I can't see a Mona Lisa like having hidden boobs, or whoa, she pulls her top. I go, whoa, we got some double D's there with some saucer plate areolas. They're very, her nipples. Again, I'm guessing, but in my, of all the nipples I've seen, and I have seen a lot on the internet, I suspect the Mona Lisa has very subtle nipples that are almost like camouflage, where there's just not, she's not working with a lot. So, anyways, you got this poster, Mona Lisa. She's squeezing her tit, giving herself a purple nurple. Maybe she's in middle school. This is. This is what modern art is, or if, to be more specific, it's contemporary art. And all contemporary art, I despise contemporary art, because this poster, the Mona Lisa, in some ways, I do agree with you. And not so much the objectification of women, but there's nothing. This poster of Mona Lisa that's in your apartment, which I'm just being redundant. There's nothing. It's trashy. There's nothing about it that's inspiring. It's supposed to be funny. It's more of a gag than it is real artwork. When you look at this Mona Lisa poster that's in your shared house, there's nothing about that that's going to inspire you, that's going to touch your soul. And that is the problem with all of contemporary art today. And I believe, and I'm not an art expert, okay? I'm just a guy. I go to some galleries. I scroll through Instagram. I believe that contemporary art, the defining moment for what we call contemporary art, was that CIA operative Jackson Pollock. If you know who he is, he would take buckets of paint, throw it on the canvas, call it art, and all the CIA operatives convinced all the elite and the wealthy in the coastal cities of New York and LA that this was art, that this was, you should be in awe of this. And they convinced all these wealthy elite who just uppity people to buy Jackson Pollock, just a mess on a canvas, for millions of dollars. And now if you go to any modern art museum around the world, they'll have a Jackson Pollock painting, and you'll look at it, you'll look at one of these paintings and go, well, I could do that. And that's the problem I have. I like to go to art galleries in New York City, the Chelsea Art District. Here's a little tip. If you're cheap, you don't have a lot of money, go to art galleries in New York City. They're free. You go to museums, they're $25, $50 to get into. The art galleries, Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, a Thursday afternoon, you walk in, they give you a little flyer, and you can walk around, no money. No, and sometimes you go to them and they have wine and food, and it's almost like it's a party. It's a festive atmosphere, and it's all free. It's amazing to me. You could go to Chelsea in New York City, walk into an art gallery, see some paintings that are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you don't need, there's not even a tip jar. It's, all right, come, go as you please. And I do come and I go as I please. But here's a problem with these galleries. You go in, and it's children's play. It's almost like they're fucking with you. You go to these art galleries, and they're fuck with you, because you'll see this sculpture, and it's 1,500 paper clips melted down and shoved into a paper mache concoction that looks like the shape of a rhino, and you're staring at it, and I think to myself, well, dude, a fourth grader with Down syndrome could have made this little contraption sculpture thing, yet somehow you're gonna try to convince me this is $3 million? Fuck out of here. I feel like I'm being fucked with. Like, where's Ashton Kutcher? Where's the punk crew? That's a callback from the early 2000s, but that's the problem. Like, you think, you go New York City, art capital of the United States, maybe the world. You go into these high esteemed galleries, and you expect to see art that you're going to be in awe of, that's going to inspire you, that's going to touch your soul. And instead, you see a bunch of paper clips hanging from the wall, and that's supposed to represent the struggle that's going on in the Congo. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? It's like that's That is all contemporary art. Like you go through all these galleries, and I go to them all. I haven't in the last 6 months or so, but I plan on going in the next few weeks because at the B Man, I am a cultured person. I like the arts. And the problem, you go half the art in all these galleries in New York City. You go in, it's an oil painting on a canvas of a zonked out teenager staring at his phone. And the artist, whoever it is who makes that painting, will try to convince you that, oh, like, I'm capturing what's going on in modern society. It's like, fuck you. You're not Leonardo da Vinci? I barely, like, I don't know how to draw a stick figure. I barely got a 1000 on the SATs. And I know that we all spend too much time staring at our phones on social media or looking at smut. Like, you don't need an MFA in art from, I don't know, Columbia University to know that we do that. It'd just be putting a picture of that on canvas. Like, you're not an artist. Sorry. Like, you're not an artist. And anyone who's buying your painting is a sucker. Like the B-Man when I gave my niece $25 last week. I feel like we've gone off topic. Okay. So when it comes to art, you know what art, when it's real art. Like when you go to St. Peter's in the Vatican, I've never been because I'm not that cultured, but you go in there, you see the paintings and the Renaissance, and I'm not sure if it's the Renaissance, but all the religions, and whatever you think about religion, you could look at those pieces of work and it's inspiring. It touches your soul. And you know that the people who made those paintings and, spent their entire life just making all the perfect, angles and strokes and dedicating their life to something that was higher than humanity, more lasting than humanity. You feel that when you look at that. Same thing with Statue of David or Starry Night, or in New Haven, there's a Van Gogh painting, one of my favorites. When I first saw it, ooh, it's eye-catching. But then it stays with you years after you see it in person. And the Mona Lisa, giving herself a purple nurple, topless, that ain't going to stay with you for years. Now, you're both wrong. This isn't objectifying women, and it's not some high art making a statement. What it is childish. Right? If you were in high school, this is something the class clown would do. In his notebook, he'd make Mona Lisa giving herself purple nurple, and if the science teacher saw that, the kid would get a detention. This poster that you have in your shared house, that should be at a Spencer's or at a gag store or at some hole in the wall in the East Village. Nothing about this is art. But that's what's so fucked up about these white, elitists on the coastlines. Like, they see this painting or this poster, the Mona Lisa with her tits out, and they want a 20,000 word New Yorker article written about it, when really it's just nothing. It's childish, it's sophomoric, and if I were you, fuck the house meeting, just rip it down, throw it in the garbage, and put up a piece of artwork in its place that deserves some space on the wall. Let's go look in some photos. Episode 116, segment 2. Happy St. Patrick's Day from the B-Man and all of us here at Verbal Graffiti. Maybe I should have opened up the episode with that. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I didn't realize till the intermission that when this is going to be released, it is actually going to be St. Patrick's Day. So to all you listening and watching, if you are doing so on St. Patrick's Day, I hope you had a few Guinnesses, a few shots of Jameson, you watched a fight of, of Conor McGregor. Maybe you watched what's the Irish? Not the Irishman. That movie was dog shit. Not too long. Boondock Saints, right? Is that an Irish kind of movie? Boston Irish movie? Or maybe The Departed? St. Patrick's Day for me I've never been to a parade. I do not like going out and socializing on these big drinking holidays, whether it be St. Patrick's Day, New Year's, 4th of July. Thank you, but no thanks. I'll drink alone. I'll get drunk by myself. But to all of you that are out socializing, I sincerely hope that you're having drunk consensual sex with an overweight potato, whether it be male or female, and that you don't remember what went down the day after, the next morning, March 18th. But I hope it was parades to me. I don't get them. We've spoken about this, or I've spoken about this. People walk by, you cheer, you drink outside. There's no toilets. If you're using a porta potty, no thank you. I want no part of the porta potty or anybody who actually will use a porta potty. I'd rather pee in an alley. I'd rather pee on my babe's leg. I'd rather pee on Governor Ned Lamont, who walked out on me doing stand-up comedy one time. So I have a little thing against him. I don't really know any of his politics. But talking about the purple nurples with the Mona Lisa, I was never, the B-Man, I was never a purple nurple guy. I don't know. I was some type of guy in school, but purple nurple, maybe it's because I was coming of age in the late 90s, early 2000s. So that's when Jenko jeans and the South Pole shirts were being worn non-ironically. So it was baggy clothing. So finding the nipple to do the purple nipple was not an easy exercise for me. And I have 20/20 vision, so I don't know how everybody else was able to do the purple nurple. And I wasn't going to do it to the babes because I was not that stashed or popular where I could give a babe a purple nurple in the hallway and not get suspended for it. The same thing with the unhooking the bras in the hallway. That was not me. I was more of a meat check guy. I would do that. That was big. Sophomore, junior, senior year of high school, we'd have a lunchroom, and then there was like a courtyard, indoor area where we'd wait for the bell to ring so that we could go back to our class after lunch. And the guys, it was almost similar, I imagine, to prison where we'd all be up against the wall. Because if you weren't up against the wall, one guy, maybe the B-Man, I'd come up behind you and I'd grab your nuts to see if the grundle was there, and we'd call it meat check. So all us guys, like, we would do that to each other after we'd just be milking our grundles and our balls. And I think everybody passed. Every guy in high school I tried to give a meat check to, I always found meat. There was never a guy where I pulled for the balls and there were no balls there. So I guess there was really no need to do a meat check because all the guys I did the meat check to had meat between their legs. But I was a meat check guy, and I was also never a rubber band guy. You ever do that in middle school where you had the rubber band? This was really like pre-phones where you had to like invent things to do in class or when you were bored, where you take a rubber band and you snap it against your forearm. Or the crazy guys. It was always guys, too, who would staple themselves. They'd get the stapler from the teacher, and they'd staple their skin. What happened to those guys? Because every year, there were a few guys, a couple weirdos, a couple guys who were out there who would always staple themselves. They'd staple a paper to their arm. It was like a carnival trick, but it was anything to get attention. Dude, if you're stapling yourself, you're more of an attention whore than the B-Man is. So at least I got that going for me. Anyway, those were some of the hijinks I took part in high school back in the day. All right. And again, happy St. Patrick's Day, B-Man. I do not know who St. Patrick's is, but he must have done something because he's the only one who gets a full day like this, or one of the very few. All right, can I find what okay. All right. We're going to continue with this art theme. This comes from the subreddit contemporary art, which I'm not a fan of, but we go forward. That's what we do here. We don't look in the rearview mirror. All right, enough with the words. Get to the post. Contemporary art, rejection and burning out. Hi all. I'm struggling right now and could use some perspective. I'm 40 and applied to multiple MFA programs this year, but in the past 2 weeks, I've received 3 rejections, no interviews, no invitations. I also got rejected from a grant and a residency. Ooh, I know my work is good, is it? All right. But I've never been accepted to any open call I've applied to, and my sales are almost non-existent. I feel I need the structure and time that grad school would provide to push my work forward, but without it, I worry that my practice is stagnating. I honestly don't know what I'm going to do if I don't get in anywhere, and have been thinking about quitting altogether. It's especially hard because I have a large circle of artist friends who are thriving. They all have MFAs, they're getting major opportunities internationally, and some are selling individual works for $100,000 plus, while landing big institutional shows. It feels impossible to catch up at this point in my life, and I don't know if I can keep pouring time, energy, and money into something that seems to be leading nowhere. Any advice would be appreciated. The plight of the failed artist. Well, I can give you some advice because I too, believe it or not, the B-Man, I am 40 years of age. I am a failed artist. My sales in regards to stand-up comedy and verbal graffiti and a former project I called After Time Expires is nearly non-existent. Actually, I did get paid $50 last week to do stand-up comedy. Thank you to Pool Boy and the crew over there at the Elbow Room. But yes, I'm a failed artist. I feel you. This is a blessing in disguise, just being a reject, and you are a reject. When you've been rejected by 3 MFA programs, rejected by grants, rejected by residencies, that makes you a clinically diagnosed reject. And as such, it is a blessing though, because what is an MFA? What if you get accepted into some master's art program? Like, what is that professor? Like, how is that professor gonna make you go from making non-existent sales to selling $100,000 per painting or whatever art form you do? It's not gonna happen. So what's gonna happen? Like, there's no professor. Day one is gonna, all right, see how you're doing the stroke like this with the brush? You want to do it like this. You were doing it like this, do it like this, and you'll go from zero, no-name artist, to world-famous millionaire artist. That's not going to happen. What would happen, or what will happen, if you do get accepted into one of these MFA programs, is that 2 years from now, your sales are still going to be non-existent, but you'll probably be $75,000 in student loan debt. So be thankful you didn't get accepted, because now you won't be $75,000 in debt. The only reason why you want to get accepted into these MFA programs is not because you actually think it's going to make you a stronger, more prolific artist or more proficient. You just want to be in the program so that it gives you some self-validation that you are an artist. Like, well, if I'm in an MFA program, then I must be an artist. Well, the B-Man is here to tell you that that's all chicken shit. As I mentioned in the first segment, the theme of art, going through episode 116, I go to art galleries because I love art and I'm cheap as fuck and I'm not going to pay for the museums. But when you go into those art galleries and you do find a painting or a piece of artwork that I enjoy, that speaks to me, my soul. There's this weird, black, decrepit, this grambling, goblin type soul, very dark, very gritty. But when I find a piece of artwork that speaks to me, I've not once have I asked myself, oh, what's that artist's credentials? What schools did he or she go to? Not once, not once. If anything, I might ask, oh, what was his influence? Who were his mentors? And I'll do a little bit of research, but no one gives a fuck where you went to school as an artist. We care about what's on the canvas. We don't care about, your resume, your art resume, however the fuck you do it in art. But so be thankful that you didn't get in. Now, to you, to your current predicament, your state of life, where you're a failed artist, no sales, but you got friends who are excelling in the world of art, you got to realize that you're not going to be your friends. Like every group of friends who are artists together in their 20s, maybe even early 30s, not all of you are going to succeed. You, the poster, you're a reject and you're a failure. You're probably never going to make money. You gotta come to, you need to come to grips with that somehow. I don't know how. Like, honestly, I can't really tell you what to do. What you're probably gonna end up doing is teaching one of those wine and paint drawing classes that they have every Wednesday and Thursday night at the local pub. Now, the babes love that. They love that. They love drinking their wine and following the instructor do the painting as they do it themselves. But the thing on the other side of that is the instructor. All of those instructors hate doing that job because they do it because they need the money, but in reality, they're a failed artist. There is no painter who wants to be the instructor at the wine and paint instruction class, because if you're doing that as an instructor, you are a failed artist. And that's what you're going to end up doing because you are a failed artist. Now, in stand-up, when we fail at stand-up, you transition into a trivia host. Is it why do a 15-minute comedy spot on a Friday night show at some dive bar when you do trivia on a Tuesday night in front of a bunch of nerds who are listening and arguing over random facts of the Lord of Rings trilogy? But at least you get paid $150 for doing that. And I know many a comic who have made that transition because unlike you, all my friends are all failures at stand-up. I don't have any friends who have made it big in comedy. Now, I do know some friends who are some acquaintances who are touring nationally or comedy writers on some late night shows, but nobody's really at the level that they want to be at. So I can't relate to that. But do know that you are the failure and you're never going to reach where your friends are. Financially and notoriety-wise. You could tell, if you're an artist of any kind, and you get to that point where your elbow, the elbow wrinkle, it's kind of starts to become defined. When the wrinkles are there and they're defined in your elbow, it kind of sags a little bit. The gobble, the elbow gobble, that is the official sign that you're never going to make it as a painter or as an artist or as a stand-up comedian. I'm almost there. Everybody knows. There's nothing sexier than an artist in his or her 20s. But when you're 40, It's a disease. Nobody wants to look at you. You got this stink on you. Everyone feels bad for you. Nobody wants to engage because they know you're bitter and you're angry about your status in life and that you're a failure, a reject. And I'm there with you. But what else are you going to do? What you're going to quit? I mean, you can't quit. You put it all this time into it. Just keep doing it. Realize you're never going to make any money. What's going to happen? What's really going to eat at you is 15 years from now, 15 years, all your friends who are successful artists, they're going to be getting together for a reunion on Park Avenue, for having a nice dinner. They're going to have some lemon chicken and a Manhattan and a dirty martini and a creme brulee for dessert and the warm bread with the nice butter that melts into it. And they're going to have some shrimp cocktail for the appetizer. And somebody's going to bring up your name again. Whatever happened to the ABC name? And everyone's going to go quiet and go, yeah, she was a fun hang. And then they're going to keep going because they're all, keep going, I mean, not talking about you because you are going to become forgotten because you're a failure and everybody forgets failures. That's what we do as failures. We're forgotten. Our names are just a figment of our imaginations. Shawshank Redemption. So you're a failure. So the best thing that can really happen to you in your life is hopefully you die soon, tragically. Whether you drown, car accident, drug overdose, choke to death, whatever it may be, you're better off dying a quick, sudden death very, very soon than having to live the next 40 years knowing you were a failure at the art that you strived so much for, and just knowing that some of your contemporaries have vacation homes off the coast of Maine and in the Bahamas, in Oahu, and they're paying for vacation homes with the money they made from their art, while you're living in some shack having to teach some arts and crafts Saturday morning class to kids who are learning to finger paint. That's purgatory. That's what your life's gonna be the next 40 years. So you're better off dying in a car accident, next week. So for your sake and for your mentality, hopefully you have a quick, sudden death very, very soon because you were a failed artist. And being a failed artist past the age of 40, nobody wants to be, and nobody who knows an artist in that category or wants to interact with you because none of us want that stink on you. And I got that stink, so I can relate. All right. From one failed artist to another, let's continue reading A Salesman's Wife by John Lawrence, a successful artist. We are starting chapter 5, which is on the top of page 103. We will read 2 pages together aloud. Again, chapter 5. Later that afternoon, Pamela was ushered into a room that she had never seen in the old mansion. It was quite spacious and decorated in a style of elegance, all pale blue and silver, with delicately carved chairs and tables. An enormous circular bed occupied the center of the room, covered with a silver bedspread. The young housewife gasps as she entered, for it was the most elegant interior she had ever seen. "It's beautiful," she said to Carlsberg, closed the door behind them. "Just beautiful." "I'm glad you like it, Pamela. Now, why don't you sit down and relax while I get the wine?" "The wine?" she said. "Do you think I need it today?" "Oh, yes," you replied. "Today is going to be rather special, you'll see." "Special? In what way?" "My assistant, a young man named Garrett, will be joining us momentarily. Together we will initiate you into further phase of your treatment." "An assistant?" Pamela asked nervously. "Yes. He should be here any moment. Now why don't you relax on the bed for a while until I return with the wine, all right?" "All right," she answered. "And don't worry, Garrett is quite knowledgeable in my techniques. I think you'll find him most extraordinary. I'll be back in a moment." He smiled at her with warm reassurance and then slipped through the door and closed it behind him. Alone in the room, Pamela wondered somewhat anxiously what the addition of a second therapist would mean. She was quite used to the doctor and surrendered freely to his masterful charms, but now there was to be a stranger involved. Her fingertips grew cold in anticipation. "I'm as nervous as I was the first day," she thought to herself. "That's wrong. I should be strong and trust the doctor. He's helped me so much, I can't disappoint him now." Trying to resist her worries, she went to the circular bed and lay on it, luxuriating in the softness of the mattress. Her body sank into it, and she closed her eyes, attempting to ease her nervousness. After a couple of moments, she heard the door open, and she sat up to see who had entered. It was Garrett. "Go suck a fat one."